first.
We did first,
Well,
Mike.
I think I've been speechless before.
Okay, we are live. My name is Fred Caney from Valley Bigfoot and the Inside Virginia Squatch, and my special guest this evening is Michael Merchant. And,
Hello.
Hello, you okay? And we're going to start off by, Mark, will you tell everybody about yourself, please?
Tell them about yourself.
Oh, you asked me to tell me about myself.
Yeah, we're live.
Let's say I've been chasing this thing for a while, and I don't know. It's not what I initially thought it was when I started off chasing it. That's probably a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and you've been to Venezuela. You're a biologist.
Yes, I'm a biologist. I've been to Venezuela. I've been on the Infestation series as a herpetologist. I was on that stupid show, Bigfoot Bounty.
Yeah, I watched the Bounty. I loved you on that show.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
It was
anyway,
fun. We went to a lot of cool places, but
yeah.
I'm not in a big hurry to do another one of those shows.
Yeah, I'm asking. All right, my first question is, what do you think a Bigfoot is, in your opinion?
Wow. Well, I think probably the closest thing that I could pin it down to is that it's what were in the old fairy tales. It's what they called tree spirits or whatever, the things that lived in the forest, you know. Think of the Hobbit, elves, dwarfs, gnomes, that type of thing, but then kind of mesh it in with a little bit of Star Trek.
Okay. The way that I understand, now me and a friend of mine's got this thing going. He claims that Sasquatch is related to a Gigantopithecus. I say that Bigfoot, yeah, I say that Bigfoot is human hybrid because everyone that's been stepped out in front of me. See, what got me started was in '81. I had a 10-footer step out 5 feet in front of me and look at me, just stand there and look at me. You know, so that's what got me started. You know, but every one of them I see, I got groups with hair on their face, and I got groups that don't have hair on their face. You know, I got 2 groups like that, and every one of them looks human and everything. So that was basically my question, you know. But that was a hell of a good answer. I like that answer though.
Well, here's another answer that is. I'm not going to claim mind speak or any of that stuff. I'm probably just getting a gut feeling, and based on a bunch of stuff that would take hours and hours to even put into anything coherent. But I think they think that we're their brothers on some level. I mean, maybe not all of them, but the sense is not just a sense of being benign, but a sense of like intense friendship, like, you know, something ancient that is being reconnected. I'm just pulling that on my ass, basically, but that's what it feels like to me. You want a feeling?
Cool. Okay. Now tell me, how do you the area that you're researching right now or you're into right now? How do you go about restarting and going into research? Let's say like you're going into a new area. How would you go about doing it when you first start going in?
If I was to go to a brand new area now?
Huh?
Is that what you asked me? If I was going to go to a brand new area now, what would I do? So in other words, someone who's starting out had never done this before.
Yeah.
That's where we're leading?
Well,
that's a good question.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Here's one of the things, and I could, once again, this is just my opinion, I could be totally off on this. I think it's extremely important for someone wanting to go and try to make contact to find an area of an intact forest that's got a mountain, someplace that you go that you're in awe of, that you go and you can find a rich diversity of critters roaming about, right? Usually like national parks or conservation areas, there are private lands like that. And to go there and try to not take all of this with you, right? You're on the web now listening to this broadcast. You probably just got off from Facebook or YouTube, or you're watching the nightly news or whatever. You got all that crap in your head, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's conducive to, I think it's like an anti-attractant to these creatures. So I think if you're interested in connecting with something benign in the forest, that you need to try not to drag that crap with you in there. It's
Okay.
hostile. We're hostile. We're rabid chimps, man.
Okay. Now, how would you go about it? When you go, when
You know
you
how they
go
used
in,
to fast, like people would fast, Indians or whatever would fast, people would fast when they go hunting and shit. I would do like kind of a mind fast. If I know we're going to go, say, like we're going to go a week from now up to our area, I make a point of not watching the latest ISIS video where they beheaded somebody, for instance. Or, I mean, that's an extreme example, but
yeah,
what's that?
You want to be part of the force, I think.
Yes, I want to go up there and I want to learn what's going on up there. And I don't, you know, I'm going into the forest because the forest is nurturing, right? It's our ancient home. I don't want to be bringing the white static of technology and all that crap that's in our head all the time with us. So for at least 2 or 3 days beforehand, I make a point of not watching any of that stuff, not engaging in arguments with people online, not fostering that negative energy. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. Because see, when I go into my area, people ask me, "How do I learn?" I says, "They teach me.
Wow,
Everything,
you do.
everything is right there in front of you. Structures, tree bends, X's. I mean, every sign. Now, like you go into an area that you've been going into for 15, 20 years, and you know the squatches are in there, and all of a sudden you start seeing different things, and you start, and what they're doing is they're telling you what they're doing. All you gotta do is learn to decipher it. You know, like with me, I got juveniles following me. You know, so I see them, but I act like I don't see them because they're another person to me. That's the way I see them.
That's polite, man. To be rude to stare, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, but you're talking about respect. You're showing some respect. Most humans, and I'm not going to, if somebody's listening to this, I'm not referring to you particularly, but humans
Right.
in general, we don't show a lot of respect to the forest, right? We go in, we chop down the big trees. We've only got about 1% of the old growth forest left, and right now it's almost an act of warfare.
Yeah.
You go to the South America, the indigenous tribes are being displaced so people can get in there and chop the trees down, mine for copper and gold. It's warfare against the planet. It's warfare against the trees is what we're doing. And
Yep.
that's a lack of respect. We're not showing the respect that we used to show when we understood that those places fed us and nurtured us. If you go into an intact forest, I mean, you seem like the type of guy that would know that. There's a lot of stuff to eat in there. You can go in there and make a hut. You can go in there and survive, right? And find water. And even now, when people are in cities, they go to the forest in some convoluted, perverted fashion to get renewed, right? Or to get grounded, to get cleansed from the toxins that they got in the city. But in the process, they're killing the planet.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, I've been going into my woods. I mean, hell, I've been in the woods all my life, you know, and like I tell people, you never stop learning.
That's true.
And that's the way I see it, you know. Carl, do you have a question for Mike?
Michael, didn't you just come back from outing? You were out in the bush for a while?
We've been going, we spent like, what, the last Friday? Last 5 weekends. We go up there and spend at least one night. So for like the last 5 consecutive weekends, we were up there. And yeah.
Are you finding what you're looking for?
No.
I suppose I am, I guess.
We get a little bit, but we never get as much as we like.
Nobody ever gets as much as they like, but the boulder smashing incident that happened earlier this summer, that was really, took me a while to process that, but that was a level of proof for me. It's not a level of proof for anybody else. I can't take this to, you know, Dr. Todd, just to tell them, say, hey, run a DNA scan on this sound I heard in the woods, and even if you could hear the sound, go, oh yeah, it's rocks being smashed together. It only means something to the people, to me, because I know it's not possible that a person did that.
Yeah.
I don't care if anybody else knows that. I don't care. I really don't. But for me, like, I'm like, all right, there's something really huge here in this forest, and you know, I've been in the forest in Maine. I mean, I don't even know how old I am. I'm over 50. I'm too old to remember how old I am. I never saw these things. I never heard rock smashing or tree knocking. I saw the regular critters in the forest, you know, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, like you were saying, both things following you in the forest. I'll go in the forest now, and you'll hear these things whooping. You'll hear a rock being smashed together, and I'm talking about in areas in the forest where we make a point of going where there's no other people.
Yeah.
We've yet to run across anybody up there in the forest, in the actual forest.
Okay, my question to you is right now, what would you do if you had a Squatch throw a rock at you and then step out about, say, like 20 yards away and stand or look at you? What is your first reaction going to be? And how are you going to respond?
I'm going to pay homage as if I'm encountering a forest god. Is how I'm going to approach this thing. I'm in a very humble position. I'm in a position of understanding that not only are these things physically more powerful than us, I'm going on the assumption they're more intelligent, which humans don't like to hear that. We don't like to even have somebody tell you that we're not alone in the galaxy. We want to think that we're top dog, right? And that way we can advocate for all the shit that we do to all the other life forms because hey, man, it's our God-given right, damn it! We're top on the pyramid. Just look at any textbook. But no, after recognizing how powerful this thing was, both in, I suppose, a metaphysical sense and an actual physical sense that you can record on a digital recorder, I came to the conclusion the only reason I was coming out of the forest is because they were letting me. So I don't really think they're out to take people out. And yeah, if one was to throw a rock at me and step out in front of me, I would consider it an honor. I'd be honored, right?
That's the way I was when because I mean, standing 5 feet in front of me, you look from his head down to his feet. You see every inch of him. All right, and then he
Is it
just
daylight too?
This was 10 o'clock in the morning. I was going squirrel hunting, and when he stepped out, I had my back turned. But when I turned, there he was, you know, and I got the feeling it wasn't a threatening feeling. It was kind of I mean, I was scared shitless.
Right. Well, who wouldn't be?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like looking at a wall, you know. But at the same time, you know, I'm like, this guy, you know. I turned my head there and said, "Man, this is gonna hurt." And he didn't. He just stood there and looked at me and just turned and walked away. And that right there, you know, and that right there just kind of give me another ad, you know, kind of like, okay, you know. Then in '86, we had a female up in my area start raising little cane, you know. She was pissed because we was in her deer driving field and everything, you know. But now when I go in, when I go into my woods, I smell vanilla.
That's what you said.
That's juveniles. There's one day watcher with 3 groups. We got one big massive male. He's 11 foot tall. I call him Henry. He's blackish gray. Okay? But they don't bother me. They follow me. I got them on video. I got photographs of them. I got 4 of them right in front of me. One on the ground, one squatting behind a laurel brush, one sitting in a laurel brush, one peeking between 2 trees at me. And you know, I mean, I get this every day when I go out, you know. And I tell people, you know, they say they don't exist or they'll kill you. So which is it? All right, they exist, and we are going into their bedroom. Now, what is the most stuff you've ever had happen to you when you and your wife went out? You know, you had like you hear whoops, you hear tree knocks, rocks throwing, walking, chattering. You ever hear any chattering?
Yeah.
Yeah, she heard chatter.
Yeah, and them talking, and it does sound like Native American speech. It does.
We've heard sounds that sound like all kinds of weird sounds.
Yeah, we've had the sounds of trees like being knocked over. We've heard obviously the rock smashing, and also
that only started this summer though. Was the rock smashing?
Yeah, but before that, the trees would tap, knock. You know, they would knock. Just seemed like by themselves. And it was almost like someone's playing a game with you. You know, someone's tapping. You know, and you can't find the source. You know what I mean, right?
Oh yeah.
And of course the whistle.
Oh yeah, the whistles. You know, that sounds like
Yeah.
like a person whistling, but you're in some, I mean, really remote area, right? Really remote area, and it's way down in the pocket brush, and you hear this whistle, and it sounds like a person, and you just know that it's not a person
and then
down
the
there.
footsteps around the camp, you know, when you're sleeping, or you're in when you're camping, and so you hear that, right? You hear them walking around.
Yeah, we just got a report. Me and Daniel Benoit just got a report that this past weekend, some campers up in his area was sleeping in a camper, and 3 times that night a squatch come up there and rattled their cage, shaking their camper.
What do you suppose their rationale behind that is? Just comedy?
How scared you can get.
What?
Well, a lot of people think when they do that they're trying to tell you, hey, this is my area, get out.
Hmm.
I don't know, you know. But the thing about it is, you know, I mean, these are city people going into the mountains, you know, getting loud. You know, when you go into the forest, you got to respect the forest. You got to respect what's in the forest. You know, and when I go squatching, I go in, you know, and first thing I'll say is "Ushka yate," and I get a response, and I know they're theirs, and I just go on about my business, you know, and everything like that. Now, what do you think? Portals. This is another thing. Portals. What's your opinion on portals?
Well, I think they answer a lot of questions.
Okay, have you seen that video by Dr. Johnson?
Sure have.
Okay, I gotta think of this one here. A lot of things that he said, you know, like he said that, if I can remember, about little red-eyed creatures, what do you call them, guard the gates or something like that? Now, what do you think about something like that?
Well, here's what I think. I think that the testimony of 3 credible men should not be taken lightly. And I've spoken to 2 of the men that were there. I've had lengthy conversations with both Adam Davis and Dr. Matthew Johnson, and I've exchanged emails and other correspondence with John Carlson, and I'm satisfied that all 3 of them are telling the truth.
Okay, that sounds good.
So unless somebody can serve up a reason why these 3 guys would be in cahoots and are forming some grand conspiracy, what are you left with? Right?
Yeah.
You either have to take these guys at their... And here's what the skeptics did. They went through this convoluted ballet that I pointed out to people. I go, this is what they're going to do. And this is exactly what they freaking did. When Dr. Matt comes forth and says something, if a single person says something ridiculous, that they'll attack the person. Well, you're crazy. Oh, he's lost his mind. Clearly he's lost his mind. Now, if 2 people do it, oh, that's a conspiracy. They're in cahoots. He paid him. He's blackmailing him, right? And so the 3rd person was Adam Davis. And everybody's like, oh, we want to hear what Adam Davis has to say. Oh, Adam Davis is going to, like, you know, just flush this whole thing down the tubes, right? And that's not what happened. When he finally came forth publicly, and before he came forth publicly, he was kind enough, because he heard that Lady K and myself were headed out to check out the portal for ourselves, and he wanted, you know, to warn us. Like, he wasn't corresponding with us to tell us that it was hokery, and that Dr. Matt was, you know, full of crap. He was letting us know, oh no, absolutely, there is Sasquatch activity out there, and oh, by the way, you know, you might want to be wary of the portal. But he does it in a fancy British accent. Sounds a lot better than I do. So.
Yeah, well, the squatches, I've heard him say about squatches. I can definitely believe that. My thing is, what does a portal look like, and why hasn't someone taken just a photo of what one looks like?
I don't have an answer for that. I'll tell you what, if a portal opens anywhere near me, you'll know, because I'm going through it. I'll throw the GoPro in first with some fishing line on it, pull it back out, make sure it's not a pit of fiery hell, and then I'm going through.
Okay. What does a portal look like?
I don't know. Who knows? Doorway? I don't know.
Okay, that's cool.
It was something. What they described. Here's what they. Okay, here's what both Dr. Matt and Adam Davis both told me was that this thing, when it opened up and these little alien guys came out, they had the red eyes. They were 3 foot tall and they were furry, and depending on who you talked to, they were benign or they were, malicious.
Right.
John Carlson and Adam Davies feel that they were out to get them. That these were not nice entities at all. But Dr. Matt has a different view on it. But as far as the actual event occurring, all three guys are in agreement that yes, this doorway type thing opened up. You could look through it. There was red, scraggly vegetation, and there were two little furry critters, 3 foot tall, on either side of it.
Yeah. That's exactly what he said, too, like that.
So I believe him.
Yeah,
I have no reason not to believe these men.
Because one of the guys said that they was evil, and the other says they were not.
Dr. Matt doesn't think they're evil. The other two guys, I don't know if they would say they're evil, but they didn't think that they had good intent. They thought they were up to bad things would happen.
Okay. All right. Now, what do you think of Bigfoot's cloaking? What's your opinion on cloaking?
Once again, it would explain a lot of questions. It would explain people, if you just look at what people report, and you have all these gaps, right? You have so many gaps that I have it from the Bigfoot Pentagon.
Okay.
Filters 33%. A third of their reports, like if you go in there, you start talking about UFOs and stuff, they're not going to put your report in their database. And they do have some weird ones in there.
Oh, yeah.
People will filter this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
They're filtering out the woo.
Okay, because because people constantly ask me, what do I think of cloaking? I tell them you can't cloak a 9 foot, 10 foot, 11 foot, 1,200-pound animal unless he uses nature.
Unless he what?
Unless he uses nature.
So you're talking like he's going to be cryptic and blend in like a deer does with some guy wearing a ghillie suit, as opposed to being cloaked.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
I used to believe that.
Yeah, I'm talking.
I used to believe what you now believe.
Well, I don't believe that.
Oh.
My belief is they hide, basically, But then you got the porthole, the portholes, they cloak and everything, because on one of Scott Carpenter's videos, he got from behind, the wind was not blowing, it was dead wind, zero. He heard something move, he turned around and looked, and he saw some trees kind of like they're walking in, and it's quiet, and all of a sudden, the leaves come back out, and so he heard something, but he couldn't see it.
I had the same experience this spring up there when I went up up in the woods, and Lady Kate left me up there for I don't know what 5-6 days by myself. And I think it was like day 2. There's a video. I'm filming myself. I didn't get the event because I was a little shocked by it. I mean, it was a still day. I'm not going to say there was no wind, at all, but it was still. And I look up through and I see these fir trees and ferns moving like a tornado or a whirlwind or something is coming. There's no wind anywhere else. I'm not hearing wind, and I'm in a boreal forest. I'm in this big spruce trees that I'm camped under, and this thing came right on down by and passed like 5 feet from me. Kept right on going down through the woods.
I've had that happen.
I never had it happen to me in the forest before, right? When I'm up in the mountain, I don't know. I've been on it's another thing too. I've been in these places that these weird things are happening. I've been in those places prior, and weird things didn't happen. And now all of a sudden, I go in there and weird things routinely happen. So it has to be like you were asking me. What do you do? Like you say, you make this Cherokee greeting when you go into the forest, right?
Yeah.
And you guys probably know I went out and hung out with Dallas Wayne a couple of years back, and Dallas does some chant that he does. Well, I've taken to go into the forest, and I just let out a little, woo, because normally when I go into the forest, I'm still I don't want to sneak up on critters and take pictures of them and stuff. And when I go into a forest like that, I don't run into this weird phenomenon. But I've been going back to these same places, and I'll go in there, and I'll either make that noise or clack a rock together, and
You get a response.
yeah, yeah, you get responses.
Yeah, yeah. And I do know after a while they start
Great
trusting.
when we get out of the car. Now,
Huh?
like this course of this summer, we would go up there, and maybe every other trip we would get out of the car, and within 10, 15 minutes of stepping out of the car, like we wouldn't even get into the mile-and-a-half hike into the woods, we would get a response, like on either side of us.
Rock clack or also
Rock clack,
a whoop or
yeah.
something like that. Just they let us know that they're there.
Somehow they'll know that you're not there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. You show up and they're there. That implies some pretty remarkable abilities.
Yeah, same here. I could be gone for 2 weeks and come back in.
How do you explain that?
I guess they sense it.
Okay.
All right, because they know the sound of my Jeep. When my Jeep rolls up, like if I get there at 5:30 in the morning, they hear my Jeep. They'll come within 45 feet of me and let out a big old whoop or a tree knock, and then when I pull my bow out, then they haul ass. So I know they're there and they follow me around. It's kind of weird how they do it.
Yeah, it's not kinda. It's not kinda weird, man. It's extremely weird. You're talking to Bigfooters when they're like, "Wow, yeah, Bigfoot's real," but I don't know about portals. You better describe the shape of it. Better get me video of that damn portal, man. If you're talking to regular people, they're like, "You're batshit crazy to think that Bigfoot's real." Period.
I'm just a plain old country redneck. I'm just a plain old country redneck in a small town. Huh?
You camouflage well as a redneck, but there's more going on there.
Shoot,
These things have a pretty good filter, I've discovered, of weeding out psychopaths.
Cool.
Yeah. That's why when certain people like Freezer Boy Rick Dyer say he's going to shoot one, it's not possible. He's not going to get within a township of any of these things, of any of this phenomenon. It's not going to be anywhere near a person like that.
Yeah, he popped on the other night when me and Daniel was talking. It's pretty weird, too.
Okay.
But, okay, anyway, he's an oddball, I'll tell you that. When you and your wife go in, and say y'all been there for a couple hours, do they like to follow her and chatter around her and everything?
The chatter.
Just twice have I heard chatter, and I can hear them at night when they're walking around the camp. But yeah, they've had kind of a special affinity for me. I mean, I got to glimpse one. And I heard the chatter on 2 occasions, and I've heard other sounds, but like the rock clacking we both hear, and stuff like that.
You've heard the stuff that sounded like it was Indian language too,
Indian
though.
language on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. It was plain as day, but I couldn't see. I couldn't see where it was. It was a little bit off, but not that far away, but still I wasn't inclined to go look for it by myself.
Usually you are.
Yeah.
Usually have to rein her in. Then wander off.
Yeah.
So do you see weird, the orbs, do you see weird lights, you see UFOs down there where you're at?
I got one photograph of an orb about that big around in front of a tree. When I took that picture, there was nothing there. I was taking a picture of it was called a doorway structure. They bent a pine tree over across the road and made a door entrance. I was on one side because I was leaving, and I turned around and took a picture, and when I did, there was a big old bluish orb right in front of a pine tree. I cannot answer that question because someone said, "What's that?" I said, "I don't know. It wasn't there because I went back to my video. I videoed it going in and coming back out, video plus take a photograph. I didn't see that orb. But on the photograph, there's a nice, pretty blue orb by the side of a softball."
Quite a few people are reporting, actually seeing them. Some people do what you do. They'll take pictures and something's not there, and then they'll have an anomalous thing on the photo. But there are people actually seeing these physical orbs, and there's quite a long history in Maine of like the Indians when they used to guide the early sports up there for trout fishing and stuff. There's some you can go and get documents that'll talk about these people seeing these things, and the Indians didn't want anything to do with these lights.
It's I mean, in my area, I've seen a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff I haven't told anybody. A lot, you know, a lot of stuff I've seen that was odd. That I never, you know, there's still a lot of stuff in my area that I've experienced when I'm in there. I mean, like I can go in there and go hunting, squirrel hunting. They follow me around. I mean, I hear stuff. I recorded some chatter one day. Sent it to a lady friend of mine out in Colorado. She teaches ancient language. Next day, she sent me back a text saying what is in your area is ancient Cherokee dialect. And I done got to the point that, you know, I'm studying ancient Cherokee dialect on the internet, you know, and a lot of what I'm studying, I'm hearing out in the woods. I'm starting to understand what they're doing out in the woods, you know, what they're talking about. Like, I go to the birthing areas. I've seen the birthing beds. First time I went in there, I got growled out. One on the left, one on the right, one dead in front of me. I found blood. I found afterbirth. I did not take pictures, and I did not make a video on it. For some fact is, if I did, people would come in here and try to tear the area up trying to find signs of Bigfoot. I'm not doing that, you know. But the way I am, you know, I mean, they're there. I know, I acknowledge you're there. They do, like I'll leave them some treats, and they'll leave me, they'll take and make a little square structure out of sticks and make an X, or they'll take a stick and break it into three, look like a cup, put a pine cone on it and everything, you know, and it's pretty cool. And I kind of like it, man, you know.
I think most people do. They're connecting with something they can't explain.
Yeah.
Which is both subtle and kind of can hit you like a sledgehammer, depending on what the experience is, right?
Yeah. Have you ever been in Virginia before?
Yes.
Okay. You ever heard of the Shenandoah Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where I live at. I live in a gigantic salad bowl. And when I'm and like I say, I'm right off the Blue Ridge Parkway, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that travels that parkway. Now,
you're not too far from where Dallas Wayne is in Southern Ohio, are you?
No, you ever heard of Richmond, Virginia?
Yeah.
I'm about an hour away from that, going toward West Virginia. I'm 98 miles west of Richmond, on 64 west. You got to go over After Mountain, then you go down into a big salad bowl. That's where I live in, is a big giant salad bowl and everything. And the Squatches travel that. What do you think of Dogman?
Seems like the Egyptians drew them.
Yeah, they did that.
A lot of people are reporting them in conjunction with the Sasquatches.
Okay.
You're probably not going to like my theory, but I just think all of these things are, you know, they're connected to UFOs, and they're either interdimensional or they're extraterrestrial. I don't know. The Sasquatches seem to me like I said, they're like tree spirits or something. I mean, you can look back as far back as there's mythology or stories or fables or whatever you want to call it, and you'll get this concept of these powerful entities being in the forest.
Right. Now, Squatches do go back to the biblical time on one certain I can't think of the word. Nephilim or something like that. Giants. Giant humans.
Oh, the Nephilim.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, the Nephilim were spoken of in Genesis. A lot of people, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm an atheist. I mean, I was raised in a Christian doctrine, so I have an extensive knowledge of the Bible, but I don't really subscribe to it per se as most, you know, Bible thumping, God fearing Christians would. However, with any text like that, there's got to be some historical significance to it. And there do seem to be some people that are claiming to have communication with Sasquatch where they're referencing the Bible. And I think they're referencing the Bible because that's the context for which the people are asking the question, right? This Nephilim concept was the fallen angels, right? The 1/3 of Satan followers that got cast down. Supposedly they got cast down to earth after the Great War, and it was said that they saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took them as they choose, and they bore them heroes of great renown, and there were giants in those days. And they also said that there were giants after the flood. So some people like Scott Carpenter, I think, subscribe to that Nephilim theory, right?
Right. So basically what I'm gathering is you don't believe it unless you see it for yourself to a point. That's a yes or no question.
Absolutely true. And there's certain things I know about stuff that I don't tell people about because there's no way of proving it. I can prove it to myself. It's been proven to me. I know it for a fact, but there's no point in me telling it to anybody because I wouldn't expect them to believe it. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't believe myself. Shit that I would tell myself. I would be ridiculous. Oh, you know, probably the key tip to a new Sasquatcher, I was going to render down all that dialogue to something short, is just don't be an ass when you go into the forest. Leave your assholeness home, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, because there's a lot of people I know, you know, who say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to kill me a Bigfoot, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. You know, let's go out and let's hang game cameras, let's hang thermo cameras, let's do this, do that. People don't know that Squatches, in my opinion, make humans look like kindergartners.
Oh, I completely agree.
In the smart department. For the matter of fact is, look how long they've been around. Look how good they are being elusive. They could be right in front of you, but yet you won't see them.
Well, it's kind of hard to see stuff that's invisible.
Oh. There's so much bullshit that I've been hearing, watching, and listening, because from 1967 to next week, everybody comes out with something different, some new discovery on an old theory. Like, to me, Bigfoot is human hybrid. They look in the face, they look like a human. They got everything you got. They got everything your wife's got. They're two identical, you know. Difference is they're bigger, longer arms and shorter legs. Well, big long legs too, you know. And they got different colors. I've seen black. I got white ones. I got one white one. I got one gray one. I got a set of cinnamon blonde girls. I got a set of black boys, and I got a set of reddish brown boys that are all twins. But you look at them, it's like looking at a human. Then you got good dog men. Then you got like that oddball animal on the 7 Shoots. You know what I'm talking about? It's supposed to be a dog man with the face of a baboon holding a white dog next to a waterfall. Someone takes a picture of it. Dog man of 7 Shoots or something like that. All right, better yet, Scott Carpenter's got one 4 foot behind him in his video. Have you seen that one? Carpenter's YouTube channel. Just punch in Scott Carpenter / Dogman. He's got a 1 hour and 5 minute video. See, he was the type of guy, he didn't believe in dogmen. He thought it was just mythical, blah, 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 blah. But when he started catching this oddball thing on video, he got a little nervous. And then he was videoing 2 squatches one day on a thumb end of on a little perky island on a lake. and he was watching a squatch on the ground and a squatch in a tree that had his foot sticking right out in the open. You can see his white pad, you can see all 5 of his little tootsies, and you can see his black hair going around his foot. But on his rear camera, 4 foot, about not even 3 foot behind him, there was a 6-foot squatch standing there looking at him, but it had a little entity on his shoulder that was about that tall with a blue cap. And you could see his mouth be like this. Now, what do you think about something like that?
I don't know. Jesus.
I'm picking your brain, dude.
Here's the thing. We have been conditioned since we're practically friggin' born that we're at. We're at the top of the food chain. We're the smartest thing. We're the only sentient life form in the entire universe. This vast, incomprehensible space that we find ourselves in when you go out and you look at the night sky and you are looking thousands of years into the past because the light that is reaching you is taking thousands of years to get there. They're saying that we're it, that there's no life out there. Come on, that's ridiculous. That goes against what everything, any child that hasn't been brainwashed and indoctrinated into this crap would look at the night sky and say, oh, there's got to be all kinds of sentient life forms out there.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
we have a guest on here.
That's the first mistake that I think we made.
Okay. Daniel.
We're the only ones.
Yeah, I see Daniel Benoit joined us here.
Yes, I'm back. I had to run my brother around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Michael Merchant.
How you doing?
Okay.
I think the universe is swarming with sentient life. I've always thought that, and I don't have any proof for it other than the fact that it seems like a logical decision to make. Look around. You're alive. You see shit that's alive. You look out into outer space. There's all kinds of real estate out there. You should come to the conclusion that the place is swarming with sentient life forms.
Yeah.
As opposed to we're the only one. We're the only. I don't know who dreamt that thought up, but that's really. I think it's hard for people to accept that there's other shit out there that's smart, that's running around flying saucers and maybe popping into portals. I don't know what they're doing. Any science sufficiently advanced will appear to be magic to us. If it's way more advanced than we are.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel, do you have any questions for Michael?
Well, jumping on, nothing really at the moment. But,
good, because I don't know shit, man.
Just out of curiosity, if I'm not, you're from the East Coast here, from around up north somewhere, aren't you?
Maine.
Maine, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Massachusetts, not too far nearby.
Damn Yankees. Damn Yankees.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hey, I know we've asked Richter and stuff in the past, but is there any news on possibly having another Bigfoot bounty, perhaps? I'm sure you've probably been asked that before.
Hell no. Who the hell would want to watch that crap?
Hey, it was entertaining.
First time painful enough for all of you? You want to go through that again? Really?
We all enjoyed watching every single last one of y'all, especially you, Michael Merchant.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
We had podcast shows, after shows discussing every episode, so it was very entertaining. Yeah, I'm sure you had them awful from others and hearing. Whatever.
No, I did. Back when I was on that show, I was still under the delusion that this was some kind of physical creature that you could, I don't know, sneak up on maybe, or I don't know. I vastly underestimated what I was doing.
Yeah, I've shared in the past. I shared, talking to Fred. Actually, on one of the podcasts we were on the other day. I've seen a lot of your, videos and just little video blogs and stuff, and I like how you're pretty straightforward about a lot of stuff. My opinion is, you seem or appear to be pretty blunt, about everything, and I totally respect that, though, for real.
Most people don't like that.
Yeah, well, exactly. Trust me, I know, I kind of get that, but then at the same time, people respect you for that too. So.
Well, I have more to say, but I'm under a Lady K NDA currently because I'm biting my tongue all the time. I was like, I don't even know where to go anymore. People are like, well, they asked me a question, and it's like, I have some answers, but I can't say it yet. Soon, hopefully, I'll be able to talk about it. We're racking up experiences as we go, I guess.
Awesome. Do you get out and do any actually field work or exploring of your own? I mean, as far as I don't know if you do or how often do you do that?
How often do we go out?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the last 5 weekends we're kind of pressed for time because I got a lot. Winter's creeping up, but we've made a point of at least spending at least one night every weekend up there. And this summer we spent a lot of time up there.
But the major thing, we've got to remodel this cabin, so we have.
I'll tell you what. In the springtime, I plan on going up there, and I'm gonna spend at least a couple solid weeks up there by myself, roaming around. It's a huge area, and there's no trails.
Okay.
That's a good point, brother.
Yeah, and a lot of it, you get above 2,000 feet, it's all virgin forest. It's never ever been cut because it had no commercial value. So even when they went through there back in the 1800s, 1700s, and they chopped all the trees down, they didn't chop the trees down on these vast, craggy, toppy mountaintops. And a lot of those places, you go up in there, there's probably never been a human being there. Maybe never. Really? Oh man, it's awesome.
That sounds almost like the area my sister, her and her kids next month are actually going camping, and she hasn't been able to get out in a while, and she's actually excited for it. She messaged me yesterday. She said, "Daniel, me and the kids, we're going camping. We're going to do some squatching," and the location they're going in, it actually belongs to the Boy Scouts, which the hunters don't go in there because I was telling her that's one thing to be concerned about because. It's that time of year. Hunting's getting to be starting to become more in the full effect. And she said, "Oh no, it's a very safe area. It's actually," she said, "it's a lot of woods." And she said this, a very large amount of deer. A lot of deer in that area. So she said, to her, that's a pretty good pretty good food source. So for any other apex predator. But
I know a lot of people think they eat deer. I used to think they eat deer. I'm not convinced that. I'm not convinced they eat deer. I'm not even convinced they even take anything from the place from here when they're here. I'm not really sure.
Well, the way I look at it, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fred.
I know they eat deer because I found quite a few deer kills. But
how do you know they killed them though? Are you sure they killed them, or they were just looking them over, or?
Because from the neck right there to shoulder down is completely ripped, back straps and the hands are gone. And you can see where everything was pulled off. But of course you can see.
No, I've seen pictures of what you talk about. Justin Smiha sent me some photos. Apparently they shot this deer and the thing was only out of sight for like a half an hour when they got over there. It had been completely, just like you just described. The back strap's been stripped out.
Wow.
It wasn't like chewed on by, coyotes or something. And it was daylight.
Yeah, because we got a boatload of coyotes here, and they travel in packs, as everybody knows, And I've seen when a mountain lion kills like a deer or something, they'll take and cover it up, and they'll stay somewhere around that area until they're ready to go munch on it again. So when I found that one deer kill, this is like about 8 or 9 years ago. I found this. That was the first and only one I ever seen. I have not seen anything since then like that. But a friend of mine, and I'm trying to get him to come off that damn video. It's a Florida video of 3 squatchers running in on a deer in a field next to my camp. And I can't get him to come off the daggone video.
Fred, who's that you speaking of?
I can't name no names.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he, well, let's just say the Game Commission don't like him. Does that answer your question? No, you don't know this guy. His name is Neil Wood.
No, okay.
I'm talking about a long time ago, But that's as far as Smeha goes, I'm still kind of screwed up on when he says he pulled around the corner and all of a sudden he's like, "Don't shoot, I got kids, don't shoot." That don't make no sense to me. That does not make no sense.
You keep saying it don't make sense, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I keep having to remind you how ridiculous, how ludicrous the subject is. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The Bigfoot were fine. Got 5 of them, got them named.
Yeah.
Damn you, you better show me some
Hell, I
evidence.
don't.
Portal. I don't mean to poke fun at you too much, but I'm just saying. I understand. I get it. I mean, oh my God, I brought the heat down on Smeha like nobody. I called him everything but a liar. I mean, I called him a liar. I just didn't use liar as an actual term. But I don't think he's a liar anymore. I got to know him, Justin, and I think he's telling the truth. I can't explain it. I don't have an explanation for it.
Well, you got to give him this. He's very consistent. Consistent with.
And
his,
Justin's different. He's a very unique individual. He shows up. He shines like a bright diamond in a crowd. He's
he's interesting. We've actually had him on one of our past podcasts. About a year ago, I think.
Character, right? Yeah. And he speaks his mind too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a good thing about it.
Stuff, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, but Daniel, like I was telling Michael, what I'm doing is on these podcasts is I'm trying to get all the information I can from each individual and take all their information and combine it to one and use it to share with other researchers and for beginners.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pick his brain, man, but he's unpickable. I can't.
Okay, look, then I'll tell you. We started going to the forest. Here's what we changed. You guys are going to laugh at me. We're kind of following the Kwani and Dr. Matt Johnson. And they want to call it gifting. I don't look at it as gifting. I look at it more as I'm going into the forest, and I have a lot of respect for the forest. I love everything in it, the trees, the fungus, all that stuff. And so I go in there and, leave some stuff. I don't know, peanut butter jelly sandwiches. I don't know, bears eat them, raccoons eat them. I don't really care, right? I don't care who's eating them. My point is that I'm showing respect to this place, and since we've been doing that,
Well, since you stayed there a week straight.
And I stayed there a week by myself, so I would encourage, if somebody is new to this, like I said, purge your mind. Try not to go in there with this concept, you're going to trick this thing. Right. You're going to set a trail camera up and you're going to get the money shot. Go in there because either you want to help the forest or maybe you want to learn something. And as I say, Kwani says that guy, a couple of things, go with a pure heart. Sounds ridiculous, but go in there knowing that the forest really is magical. It really is. This and maybe it's science, but it's magic now because we don't have the science to explain it. Yeah, it's not a rare thing, right? I mean, there's a whole room full of people here that experience what I'm talking about in one form or another. So you go into this forest and you show some respect, leave some stuff there, and do this for a while. And maybe, like Kathy says, go there, conquer your fears, stay there for a week, camp on the ground. Don't have every flashlight that you own on at night when it gets dark. Leave the freaking lights out. What's going to happen to you? What's the worst that could happen? My father, I was always taught there's nothing to be afraid of in the forest. They didn't realize what was in the forest, but I was taught not to fear the forest. So, you do that, man, and some shit. You'll learn some stuff.
Yeah, that's why I say when I go in, they teach me.
Right? They change you, don't they? You'll be changed.
I'm 56 years old now. Now, when I was younger, I was a hell raiser. Didn't give a crap, but since
I don't believe it.
Since I've been squatching, since I've go out in the woods and squatch, I mean, I'm in the woods every day anyway, whether I'm hunting or not,
Yeah, me too.
I've learned a lot, and I tell them, they say, how do you learn? It's right there in front of you. Just learn to read it. That's the simplest thing I can say about it, That's how I learn everything I know. I ask questions and everything, and I get a lot of oddball answers, But you take all them answers and you combine it and you pick to it until you find one that makes more sense to you, and you use that with what you're looking at out there in the woods, and that tells you everything. Just decipher it. It's there. Basically, go ahead, Dan.
I got a question for Michael. It's actually a comment made under the link posted on our Facebook. Joe, your buddy Joe from Philly, is asking. He wants to ask Mike. He said, ask Mike and his wife if they ever experienced infrasound or being zapped.
Who was this?
His name is the way his profile name is Don Skeeler and Joe Krugnell.
Yeah,
They're from Philly.
yeah,
They're friends of Fred.
yeah. There's some friends of mine that I met on the internet. Basically, what he's saying is, have you ever been zapped?
Oh, I know what they're asking.
Oh, the infrasound, yeah.
No comment.
No comment. Okay.
That falls under the lady NDA, I guess.
NDA.
Gosh darn it.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I'm just going by the comments because I'm checking questions because usually when we have the open discussion podcast, we always welcome questions, comments. It helps kind of go into our, add to our discussion conversations and stuff. So,
Well, I can tell.
Look, I've never been. I'll tell you. Here's what I can tell you. Nothing to do with mind zapping from Sasquatch, but I have experienced, like the night paralyzed, people being paralyzed at night, right? And you have these weird dreams and shit that are, kind of like extraterrestrial based.
Yeah.
But this was a long time ago, so I don't know if that's the same thing as being zapped. A lot of people refer that, the
Lucid dream.
yeah, the psychology text will tell you that you're being paralyzed because your body produces a chemical so that you don't thrash about when you sleep. It's a bunch of bullshit what they're giving you for an explanation. But a lot of people experience that, and their sense is that they're having an encounter with a sentient creature.
Well, when I got zapped, it felt like 1,000 bolts going through my head.
Really? Like somebody tasered you?
Where on your head?
Huh?
Where on your head did that happen?
The first time I got zapped, it was on the right side of my head, and the second time was on the left side of my head. The second one was the worst one. The further I walked up in there, it felt like something was just crushing my head and throwing electricity to it at the same time.
So it wasn't like being tasered, it was a progressive thing. As you got closer, it got more intense?
Yeah, and when I backed away, it stopped.
Huh.
Almost like, Fred, you remember when you took me up into the area where you said that it happened to you?
Yeah, that's the area I took you in the first time. That's when the right side of my head started pounding. Then when I went on that back trail, that's when my left side of my head started pounding.
You think maybe it could have been an electromagnetic field you guys were encountering?
No.
Well, that's interesting because somebody else has actually brought that up before too, which is, you can't rule out stuff like that. But
we couldn't keep batteries in our trail cameras.
Yep.
In our location.
Yep. Our batteries died.
Wow.
Up to 3 tries. I mean, when I went up there and camped.
I will tell you that my camera, at that time when I was going in there, my camera, I put a brand new battery in it to Jeep. By the time I get about halfway up that trail, my battery is dead.
Right. See, infrasound wouldn't do that. Everybody wants to talk about this infrasound. Infrasound's not going to drain the batteries in your camera.
I got infrasound and ultrasound on audio.
Well, I know, but that's not going to drain.
Fred's area. I mean, I've had my trail cameras and stuff out there. I never had no battery issues with anything.
What have you had?
The area where Fred's talking about, I remember we were walking through the woods, and when we came up on that trail, now, I know I let Fred know, well, I didn't let him know right away, because, this is the area where he said he's got zapped. What I experienced, which I found kind of odd, but all of a sudden a headache kicked in. I felt pressure right here on to my right side of my temple. To me, that was like, it lasted for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes, then it was gone. I never experienced that like that before that time. So that a headache,
maybe you guys are passing through portals.
So
they don't like the portals, do they? See, you guys could be passing through something. There could be disturbances there that you're going through, and you're picking up on something. You're sensing it. They might not be actively zapping. It might be a passive thing to do with the environment that you're passing through.
Well, ever since that time, nothing else has happened. I videotape in there all the time. Nothing has happened since that day.
Interesting.
And I got it on video on both areas where you can look at my face and see the pain just coming into me, because I got tears coming out of my eyes. But when I stopped and I backed out, I said, "Yo, stop it, man, it hurts." And I backed out and my head stopped hurting. I cannot explain that.
we got several viewers watching right now, like I do on any other podcast show. I just want to make an announcement. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free.
Yeah,
Jump into the live chat. I'm watching the live chat right now. It's currently empty. So I see that we have several viewers. So
yeah,
yeah.
Bert
We're
is
gonna
right.
edit it out when we post it, right?
Huh? Well, I had to change my post because that was the only way I can get him on there because we had to go over on his wife's laptop and everything. So I had to change the link so everybody could watch and everything, you know. So
Sorry about that. My fault. Lady K is glaring at me right now.
well, when I was talking to you, when I'm talking to you, I'm on my main laptop, which does not have a camera, so I'm on the laptop myself. And last night when I was talking to Daniel about 15
He lost
minutes
his audio.
I lost my audio completely. It was like when you first began. I could
And
hear
then the
you.
rest of the show was carried on with MindSpeak.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, Fred was like writing notes on paper and holding it up to the camera.
For the non-MindSpeak, right? You'll hold, hold the notes up.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's pretty interesting, you know. But yeah. If anybody wants to, is that your twin?
Yeah. This is my
That
Squatch.
dog. The expression on his face tells me that he's got a mind of his own. He's a
She's a good. She seems to sense when they're around too. She gets
yeah.
you know.
It's like she knows. She's looking at things and it's in the same direction where we're hearing them. You know.
There's people in there.
I don't know. Dogs.
Yeah, I've had we got a lot of bear hunters that run their dogs through the mountains. And when I started squatching, you know, they was asking me, you know, blah blah this about this and I said, you ever lose any dogs? Yeah, we lost a few of them over in Nelson County. I said, did you find any collars? Yeah, we found a radar collar. I said, were they ripped? They said, what do you mean? I said, were they pulled apart? Yeah. Well, Squatch got them. No, a bear got them. Really? These dogs are trained to kill bear, but anyway, one day I was coming home and I run into a bear hunter, and I was explaining to him, you know, we was talking about, you know, what Bigfoot was in the area and everything, you know, and his dogs come out of the woods running and went underneath the truck. He said, what the hell's wrong with my dogs? I said, bet you they saw a Squatch. Well, how do you know? I said, try to grab one. He leaned underneath the truck to grab one of the dogs. He got snapped at. Them dogs were in shock. But, I mean, you know, they travel up and down the East Coast on the Appalachian Trail.
I haven't had any issues at all. And before this dog, I had another smaller dog that I was in these same locations, and I didn't have any problems with that either. I was concerned about it, but I don't know. I haven't had any problems.
Some dogs get used to a Squatch, and it don't even bother them, you know. I watched a video of this guy. He had two Squatches living on his property, and they had I think it was a sheepdog collie or something like that. And the dog would go out in the woods every day, and you know, not hang around with the Squatch, you know, but he wasn't scared of the Squatch. But yet, two other dogs come in and went in the same direction as that dog did, and all of a sudden you see him walk in, but you see him going about 100 miles an hour out of the area, looking back behind them as they run.
See, that's really strange because if you look at the Legend of Boggy Creek, they talk about how the dogs wouldn't track after they shot that thing, right? The folk monster or whatever it was. And
something like that.
I've had people tell me different things. I mean, I've had, you know, people say like you that the dog came back in shock, frothing at the mouth, terrified, and then I've had some other people tell me I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't seem to be consistent, does it? I mean, why would they attack some dogs and not other dogs?
You know, that's a good question. I never thought about that.
Our dogs are just a companion animal. It's very sweet.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it has to do with what type of dog, you know, whether it's a hunting dog. I mean, Kathy's right. The dogs I have are companion dogs. Yeah, they're kind of smallish dogs, and they're well trained. So when I'm in the forest, they do what I tell them to do, and you know, because I don't want them running off after a bear or a moose, which, you know, I encounter a lot. So I have to make sure that the dog's going to stay with me.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's normal, I mean,
I heard there's been occasions where people have actually seen moose in the distance and actually misidentified them, mistaken them as a possible Bigfoot. I
a
guess
moose.
if you look
There
at
was
them
a video
if you look at
circulating
them from the
last year,
front,
wasn't there?
what's that?
I said, wasn't there a video last year of the blurry ass end of a moose that they kept saying it was a Bigfoot?
I think I've heard of that. I'm not sure if I've seen it, but I've heard
No, it
something
was one of
about
the guys that
something
was
similar to
on
that.
Bigfoot Bounty.
Ah. Huh.
Yeah.
Talking about the two Indian boys?
Who?
Talking about the two Indian boys?
Yeah, they were idiots, all right. No. You can actually apply that to any team, including my own team, on that show. Oh, good Lord.
But yeah, but in the long run, everybody, people basically, I guess the bottom line is people want to know how researchers, because I have a lot of people ask me all the time, what do you do when you go into the woods, and stuff like that,
Right there, you
and
said it. What's the key thing? Go into the woods. I'll say it again. Go into the woods. Go into the fucking woods, people. Good grief. Look, we're sitting inside. Get out. Go out. Shut the computer off. Stop watching us. Go outside. That's where you're going to get your answers.
what do you think about? What do you think about?
Hey, you're absolutely right.
Yes, thank you.
What do you think about couch potatoes?
Well,
No,
that's
no.
basically what he's talking to, basically.
Yeah, basically,
I
yeah.
mean, there is a place. I mean, there is stuff that you can do online. There is, but the problem I have are with the skeptics that want this proof delivered in an envelope or an email to their office, and you can't get these people. You can't drag their asses out to experience what's going on. You're like, yeah, come with me. Like, I can't give this to you in an email. You have to, and they won't do it.
Exactly.
So stop asking for evidence. Stop bugging me.
Don't be lazy. Go.
Yeah, go outside. Right, you go outside, and this thing will teach you stuff.
Every day when I go out in the woods, it's a new experience. Even though I'm hunting or I'm just videotaping, it's a new experience because I'm.
I love how you
always
say
learning
woods.
something new. Huh?
The woods. I like how you say woods.
Woods.
Yeah.
Like when I say ice too.
That's
Ice.
different.
I'm just a Plano. I'm just a tired old 56-year-old country.
But you
redneck.
love the woods, right, man? You love the forest. See, that's the thing.
I would rather. I tell you what. I despise cities.
Yeah, see.
I despise beaches. I will take a river or a lake any day.
Yeah.
For
Hey,
anything.
Michael, I got a question for you here, and this question here, if I'm not mistaken, in a few years back or so, I think you may have spoke on this in one of your videos. Mr. Steve Peck Jr. He said, "Hey, does Michael think the government knows about Bigfoot? And if so, does he think they are hiding it?"
I am so glad somebody brought that up. Of course they're hiding.
Yeah.
Of course they know about it. They know about everything, right? Now, of course, Kathy will glare at me about this because she's like, "You don't have any proof." Here is the proof that I do. You guys can look this up. There's an individual named Stanton Freeman. There's another guy named John Green, I believe, who runs the Black Bolt. Stanton Freeman, who was a retired nuclear physicist, engaged in an 8-year battle with the U.S. government to obtain Freedom of Information documents pertaining to the UFOs. And after 8 years, they had this huge pile of documents. They won the case, and they turned around and they went to the judge. The judge says, "No, you can't have the stuff because of national security." And in a few more years, he ended up getting these documents, and they're like 99, 98% blacked out. And people are like, "Oh, that's not evidence." Yeah, it is. There's this huge amount of paperwork where the government said that, "Oh, we're not looking at UFOs. We're not doing anything at all with UFOs." This is proof that that's absolutely what they were doing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the documents that we got that were blacked out, that they admitted to having, right? Now, if the government knows about flying saucers, and for myself, I know flying saucers are real because I've seen dozens of them, which I will expunge upon in great detail at some point in the near future. But I've seen all kinds of these things They're not airplanes. They're not something the government's doing. Not unless the government has somehow figured out how to make a inertialess drive that would turn anything that I know of into absolute goo when it makes that 90-degree turn at warp 14 or whatever the hell it was going at.
Those are not uncommon.
No, up here, and you can. I have got a whole folder. The Bangor Library's chock-a-block right full of these things. This stuff happens all the time up here in Maine, and it has been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. And if the government knows about UFOs, they damn straight know about Bigfoot, something else that apparently can turn invisible and open up portals and is somehow connected to these flying saucers. Like, people don't want to admit it, but they're connected to these UFOs. And in a very short time, in a period of just a couple of years, I went from thinking that it was probably bullshit and maybe 1% of this, maybe a pentake in Sumatra was real. Maybe there was a 1% chance there was some Neanderthal roaming about Canada. What did I discover? These things like the Fremen. They're everywhere, right? Any place there's forest, people are seeing these things. People are also seeing the flying saucers, and there's plenty of people that will connect the two for you. But they're labeled as nut jobs. People laugh at them. Oh, it's ridiculous. You're crazy. Dallas, from Dallas and Wayne, told me that, yes, he saw Bigfoots and aliens together with a cloaked flying saucer. I said, how'd you know the flying saucer was cloaked? Well, it was invisible. That was the joke. That's what he told me, but it wasn't a joke to him. He was serious.
What do you think about the in China where they saw the city in the sky?
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I haven't looked into that yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. Let me tell you something. I saw a UFO once that would be like taking, well, I don't know, 3 or 4 battleships, sticking them together, and somehow hovering them in the sky. You could call it a city.
I've seen some.
And there were people with me. I wasn't the only one. I wasn't hallucinating, wasn't intoxicated. I don't even drink.
I've seen a lot of oddball stuff too. It's in the sky, but I never say anything about it.
But you're seeing it where you're seeing your Bigfoots, right?
Physically, I'm seeing Bigfoots, and physically, when I look up in the sky and I see something that's dead still, and all of a sudden it goes from 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I can't
These things are connected.
explain
the things
that.
on the ground that you're dealing with and the things that you're seeing up here, they're not just randomly. They're connected. They're somehow. Kind of like Star Wars and the Galactic Council and stuff like that. I think that's probably got more reality to it than this concept that we think that we're the only thing in the universe.
Well, when I first heard about the portals, the first thing across my mind was Stargate.
They described it as a Stargate portal. I mean, I think Dr. Matt even used that nomenclature when he presented it. It looked like a Stargate portal.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the government was trying to do something like that right now.
Maybe the government already has portals. Some people will tell you that they do. Here, look, MIT, we joke about this cloaking thing, like, oh, boy, stuff can't cloak. But we have cloaking technology. MIT has some blanket that they made, right, that transmits, it has photocells and a camera. And basically what it's doing is it's taking information from behind and projecting it in front. And so when you put the cloak on, you see through a person. For all intents and purposes, that's what it looks like, that you're seeing through the person.
So, yeah, kind of like almost like a mirror effect in a way.
It'd be like, let's say that we took, there's 2 ways of doing it. They got another thing that they do where they bend light. But the way they're doing it with the blanket is, let's say that I had behind my head a camera that was videotaping what's directly behind me, and here I had a TV camera projecting to you what's directly behind me, and I had my whole body blanketed with these. It would look like you're looking at the wall behind me, but it would be kind of fractal, right? That's what MIT did. That's what we know about. Now, we all know that the military and the government, that what is revealed to the public is just a smidgen of what's actually going on. So if we have cloaking, what's to say that some advanced science wouldn't have already found a way to do that? We theorize about it. We've got the Klingons, they're cloaking in Star Trek, Star Wars. I don't know if Star Wars is cloaking, but Star Trek cloaks.
Yeah.
Not Star Trek, that's ridiculous, not the same thing. But you do see parallels in science fiction and science fact. People that write science fiction are theorizing, they're usually science nerds, that are extrapolating to the very fringe of what is possible based on what they know about known physics. So usually science fiction is something that has the potential of being real.
Interesting.
A lot of people say that Gene Roddenberry channeled or was contacted by aliens, and the whole concept of the Federation was planted in his brain.
Huh.
That's just the theory. Just like the theory is that the Wookiee, that Chewbacca was actually formulated based on Sasquatch. It's also just a theory.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard a lot of different things floating around about that, but yeah, Chewbacca. It's pretty cool how some theories like, well, where did what's his name, Lucas, come up with the idea to come up with Chewbacca? He said, did he ever have a Bigfoot encounter?
All right,
And that
where
was
do you
Where do ideas come from, right? The
yeah.
Greeks attributed to the muses that gave us ideas.
all right, where do you think of the Genome Project?
Which one?
The one with Matilda.
Waste of time. Ridiculous. Big con. Big money pit. Big hole people poured money into. Look at it this way. Do you think, like we just pondered, like, does the government know about Sasquatch? Of course they friggin' know, right? We're talking about it. It's all over the place. And some of us know that it's real. Some people might be watching this and they still know if Bigfoot's real or not. But, I mean, the phenomenon is absolutely real. So if it's real, you know the government's investigated it. They've determined it's real. They either had that technology. I don't know what's going on, but there's no way in hell they're not paying attention to this stuff.
All right, let's do it this way. The reason the government doesn't want us to know that Bigfoot is real because it would affect the lumber companies all over the world.
Or the economy in general, but
more importantly, it would probably, let's put it this way. So you're saying that it would affect the lumber company, at least if I follow your logic, because people want their trees.
Yeah, tree huggers and everything like that.
I love trees.
I love trees too.
What it would affect, I'll tell you who's even more scared of this coming out than the people that cut trees, would be the cattle industry. Because there's more deforestation attributed to the production of soybean to feed cattle and hogs than any single. That's the single thing that is doing more damage to this planet, as far as deforestation, than any other single activity by human beings.
I used to. We lived on a farm, and in my hometown, I can verify what you're saying is correct because the biggest dairy farm in Amelia County was the Ashman Farm. They had over 300,000 acres. 3/4 of it used to be nothing but woods. Now you cannot find one tree on it because they're soybeans. They're planting soybeans, they're doing corn, and they're just cutting everything. They're just like bulldozing it down.
So what you experienced on a small scale is taking place at a massive, almost inconceivable scale in the tropics, like in South America.
Yeah, and Amazon and everything else.
So if the Sasquatch phenomenon is connected to the forest, which I think anybody that studies it for very long, you can have different thoughts as to what the connective is, but you're not going to find the Sasquatches if you don't have trees, right? So yeah, I mean, I suppose if it came out and people wanted to protect these things, which we really need to just protect the forest, protect trees.
Yeah, because I mean, like I say, everybody has their own theory on what a Squatch is, or if they exist, they don't exist, and everything like that. And the way I see it,
Luna, would you get off that plastic, please?
The reason I say I know they exist because I've seen them personally, and a lot of people say pareidolia. It says, well, that's pareidolia. That tells me that their mind cannot comprehend what they're looking at, and they want to be right about it. But
pareidolia is not opening portals, and it's not smashing rocks together in the forest, and it's not throwing at people.
Right.
I have people tell me, "Oh, you don't know what you're looking at." Hey, you haven't seen one, so why are you telling me that it's not one?
Right.
And And I got a lot of people pissed off at me because what you're looking at, because you cannot comprehend it. When I say comprehend it, they can't. That really pisses them off, and I'm glad it does. You know.
Oh, I was a naysayer. I didn't really, I was kind of on the fence. I mean, I don't know. I was an ass to some people, I suppose. Not very many, just a few.
Yeah, yeah. But when you go out and when you go to your relaxation zone for a week at a time and study nature, in the back of your head, you're wondering if you're going to run into a squatch or not. True.
Oh, I don't wonder. I know they're there. I can almost sense they're there. It's weird, but
yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm the same way. I can sense.
They didn't used to be there. Like I can go, as a hunter, if somebody goes into the forest a lot, there's a background noise. I used to tell people this because, oh, the forest is spooky. I go, well, because the background noise changed that you're not keyed into. And even though I'm half deaf now, the forest is very familiar to me up here, and it's changed. It's different now. Certain areas, not all the areas have changed, but some sure to hell have. The minute I go in there, I can just tell. I don't have an explanation for it really, but at least not when I.
All right, when you go in. Right. When you go in, your senses kick in, right?
Yeah. Well, because I mean, it's not like I'm fearful or anything, but you step out of the car and there's a big, huge pile of moose crap. You've probably seen a couple moose getting in there. You might have seen a bear. You're going into the forest. Trees can fall on your head and kill you.
Well, you're always aware.
Yeah, no, I'm aware because, if I'm with Kathy, I'm responsible for her. I'm responsible for anybody else I take in there. If I'm in there by myself, I want to be careful because I want to make it back out. So
yeah, I mean, being
but it's a relaxed awareness, right? It's not like oh my God, I'm terrified. And if it gets dark, I'm not terrified. I'm just never terrified. I mean, it's
yeah, because I can go into my area, without a flashlight or nothing. That wouldn't bother me. It's just the only thing that rattles my brain is when they start messing with me and knowing that I can't see them. They have a tendency to play head games with me once in a while. It's comical, but that's the only thing that rattles my brain.
See, that's showing a sense of humor, doesn't it?
Huh?
It shows a sense of humor on their part, I think.
Yeah.
The intelligence that we're interacting with has like a sense of humor.
Yeah, because, they trust me. When I go in and I'm hunting, right? I sit down, I set my gun at a tree behind me and turn around and do what I normally do. Then when I see a squirrel or deer, I grab a gun and take a shot at it, But otherwise than that, when I go in, I sit down, the gun is away from me. So they know I'm not a threat.
Yeah. No, I used to carry my sidearm right out in the open just in case I ran into a lot of times I didn't carry a gun at all, but now if I carry a gun, I have it in my backpack. Like, I don't even have it out, I suppose if a bear was mauling me, maybe I could, get Kathy to get it out of the backpack and he could chew on it while she's getting it, loads it. Probably not working.
Yeah, they don't bother me, man. Well, we got a camping trip coming up this weekend, and we're gonna be doing a lot of nighttime investigations.
Awesome.
And in my area, 90% of the stuff that I've experienced happened after midnight.
Oh, they're wicked active at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had two come up to the camp, scare the hell out of two boys from Maryland because they went. I'm sitting there watching them come down the trail, and I say, "Y'all gonna get a rude awakening." What are you talking about? By the time they heard whoop, 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 one went across the road, one ran right behind the camp. Scared the hell out of them.
I bet.
I mean, the juveniles throw rocks at me all the time. I got to the point, I'll pick it up and throw it back. Say, "Oh, you dropped this," and I'll throw it back at them.
What do you think they're throwing rocks at you for? What is the point of that?
Well, the juveniles like to play games. Because what's there to do? Play with sticks and rocks and dirt. That's all they got,
I don't know. They can play with the portals. That'd be fun. Look, I'm here. No, I'm over here now.
I mean, one like 2 years ago and last year, I went in this one area. You know, for 3 days, I walked by this one tree or this one section, and I kept hearing I kept hearing knocks. You know, I'm like, well, maybe that woodpecker likes that tree. Well, the fourth day, I decided when I went in, I took a stick with me, and I stopped before I got to that spot, and I went crack, 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 crack. I wasn't expecting anything. 5 seconds later, the same knock comes back at me. So I started putting two and two together, you know. I'd hear it, I'd go about my business. Then I went in one day and knocked, and they responded, and I eased around the corner, and I got one of them trying to imitate a dove. And I tell people, how do you know if it's a dove or a squatch? Every animal has got a particular note that's hard to hit. And a dove is one of the main birds that's got a certain note that even a squatch cannot hit. Off tone to it, off key.
Don't you think sometimes they do that on purpose, though, that they're not really trying to mimic it exactly? Or do you think they are?
90% of what I'm hearing, now when the adults do it, I can't tell, but I can always tell when a juvenile does it. Like I had Daniel up in the area one day with him and his girlfriend at the time, or I don't know. I got her up on a log, or she got up on a log, and I said, let out a whoop, and she did. And not even 30, 35 yards away, we had a juvenile try to imitate a barred owl. He sounded like he had laryngitis, but he tried. So they are taught to listen and use animal sounds to communicate. If they're not knocking or if they're not throwing rocks or something like that, that's what I see. You know, but everybody's got.
Well, humans do the same thing. Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I used to go hunting when I was younger with my friends, I mean, we'd make an owl sound or turkey sound, or you'd agree upon something ahead of time, right? As some signs, so you're not going, "Hey!" run in the woods when you're hunting. You don't sound like a human. You communicate by sounding like stuff that's in the forest.
Yeah, to try to blend in.
I listen to
I'm sorry, go ahead, Fred.
everything. I listen. I'm sorry. Okay. When I go in, even the most intricate, I know what's in my woods. I know what sounds they make. So when I go in, I hear and something's odd. I'll know nature part of the creature all of that, you know. And it's kind of. I've been doing this since 1981. Are you there, Michael?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You see me?
You look like a statue there.
Heard him. No, I was just listening. I was paying attention. I was being polite. Hard for me. Normally, I just do the talking. So when I'm quiet,
oh, okay.
You should be impressed.
Yeah, but I've learned. Like I said, I've been doing this since 1981, and I've learned there's a lot of stuff that I used to do that I don't do now. I'm very quiet normally I'm quiet when I go in. I listen. I use my senses, my smells, listen for the different smells. I always know when squatches are around. I can feel them. Now, if there's a big one around, I'll have a shiver run up down my spine. The juveniles I don't worry about. I can smell them. All the ones got to do is shift, and I know exactly where they're at. And I always let them tell me where they're at. I'll walk through the woods. I hear noise. I'll stop, and I'll look around. I'll take about 5 or 6 steps and stop in mid-step. They got to take that one last step to get in that position to where they can see you, but you can't see them. When they do that, they just give their location away. Now, see, that's what I've learned by the squatches in my area. Of course, I mean, anybody can do it in any area in any part of the world if they wanted to. You just got to be able to. You just got to be able to learn learn how to read stuff like that.
Just learn. A lot of people have a hard time learning because they have a hard time changing their mode of operation, or they think they already know everything.
Well, if they would go out and do what me and you do,
Oh,
and
I don't
get
know what I'm
and
doing. I'm
get
constantly changing what I'm doing.
oh, I'm off the wall when I go in the woods. You know, I do stuff quietly, but I shift. I never do the same thing twice. I'm always doing something off the wall. My brother says I don't know what I'm doing half the time because I never do the same thing twice, and that gets to a lot of people. I don't care, but I'm learning as I'm in there.
I do think it's helpful to, like, I used to talk about the 99 1% rule because I used to, and I still kind of, that wasn't one thing that actually I probably wasn't too far off on, is that these things seem to spend the majority of their time, 99% of their time, where we spend 1% of ours. And even when we go into the forest, most people stay on trails. We're very predictable, right? I think people might have better success if you get off the beaten trail. If you go somewhere where everybody's not going, and then you imply this respect for the forest, you're gonna encounter these things.
I absolutely agree with you 100%, and people hear me speak about that all the time. I mean, I'll start off on a trail just to kind of work my way in deeper, but
Right.
man, you find all the cool stuff. Yeah, like you said, off the beaten path, man. It's
Exactly.
and yeah, I like to believe I go places where it's unlikely where a hiker would actually go. Hikers
Right.
usually stay on trails. So, but I mean, I've gone up like places like some of these ridges I come across. I see all the pile of rocks and these ledges, and I was like, man, I might be a cave up there or something. Well, if there is, it might be a bear up there. But I like to take chances sometimes. I'll work my way up there. I mean, I've done it before. It'll wear me out, but I'll get up there. I mean,
No, the exploration is a lot of fun, even without the thought of some weird, sentient creature in there. Just the forest is amazing. Just what we know of it. Just what is known.
absolutely. I mean, when I go out there, I'm not just looking for signs of Bigfoot or whatever, but I'm observant of the wildlife itself and what they're doing. I try to watch if I see a deer or any animal. I try to watch the behavior. Yeah, if they seem like they're startled or whatnot, what's making them do that? What's making them look this way? What's getting their attention? They know you're there, but something else has got their attention more directed elsewhere.
Yeah, anybody
So,
that goes into the forest is a student, or as you said, we're in kindergarten, because I don't care who you are, you don't know everything about the forest.
right. It's a lot. It's got a lot of mystery to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'll teach you something new every time you go there if you're not a jerk. Jerk to the forest.
And that's funny you say that because it's sad because there's a lot of people that have a lot of disrespect. They trash areas, the main areas where me and Fred are, where we do a lot of our research and exploring. It's national forest and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful land, But yeah, you got those ignorant people that go out there and don't care. They leave trash everywhere. They'll abandon their campsite because they're too lazy to clean up or take their belongings with them, And
No,
said
that's
that
sad, and we don't see too much of that. Luckily, up where we're at, I suppose probably because there's not that much traffic. But we went with Mike. What's his name now? Humphrey.
Yeah.
It was Mike Angagangly, and we went with him. And I know what you're talking about. It was a national forest. People had left like diapers and.
yeah.
This mentality that you're talking about, this disrespect of the forest, has been instilled in us by the corporations and by like this militarized idea of going in and chopping all the trees down. And when I was a little kid, you guys probably remember watching Sesame Street, right? Well, what they show you, these huge, massive trees being cut down like it was a good thing. Like we should have been weeping, not celebrating the death of ancient creatures that we didn't even know anything about. We just went and chopped them down. You got a tiny little bit over there in California that cling to that preserve, right? I mean, this is terrible. That's that mentality. That mentality has got to be changed. We have got to somehow, reverse that. And man, we got to do it. If we don't do it, things are not going to be good.
Well, what people don't realize is when you cut our trees down, man, that's taking our fresh air away. for every tree that you cut, I'm an arborist, so I know about it. Takes away the fresh air.
Well, it
What
takes
happens?
away, but you're absolutely right. It takes away the air, but you also take away species. Look at the ivory-billed woodpecker. When the Singer Corporation sold that massive tract of land they had, which they had kept it like a preserve, right? The ivory-billed woodpecker was in there, and it needed those rotten oak trees. Well, when the Singer Corporation sold it, and a logging consortium got a hold of it, they went in there and turned it into farmland
Yeah.
to raise some cattle, chopped all the trees down into the ivory-billed woodpecker. God knows what else we drove to extinction in it that we didn't even know about.
Well, look at back in 1981, the spotted owl. You know, look what happened when they discovered that. And they declared it a rare species, and that stopped the economy of logging right there. So, and that's like what we were talking about
I heard it
earlier
ended up
about
on restaurant
government.
menus too.
Yeah.
No?
Daniel,
What's that?
Daniel.
I said, didn't it end up on some restaurant menus in Northern California? The spot?
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
Take over for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
No, maybe that would be a good thing. I mean, preserving the forest would not be a bad thing. We had a forest, right? The Europeans came over here, and we came over here, and we just wiped out the forest, and we replaced the bison with cattle, and we replaced all the indigenous creatures, and we killed all the Indians, and the few Indians that were left, we herded them up and boxed them into little boxes so that we could take over the wild, right? But I mean, even when the Northern Europeans came over here, they were driven away. We had the same thing happen to us. We were disenfranchised from this concept that the forest is a place of nurture. And now most of our nomenclature talks about the black forest, the dark forest, the dangerous forest, the wilderness. You go there to survive. Man against the wild, right? What are the titles?
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
in harmony with the universe. Not there go there.
yeah. It's like just a brief history, just in this general area right here, the George Washington National Forest is what covers the majority of the west, from north to east. Excuse me, from north to south connection from Northern Virginia to Southern Virginia, more on the west side of Virginia. You got the George Washington National Forest, and a majority of that land. What's that?
Doesn't that connect to another thing? Don't you guys have like a green belt that goes all the way to southern Ohio?
Yeah.
Actually, well, you got as far as you got the Allegheny Mountains. Yeah, you got the what's the other one there? Well, the Appalachian Trail runs right through here.
Yeah,
you got Blue Ridge Mountains that run through here.
Yeah, the Blue Ridge Parkway. The Blue Ridge Parkway travels from North Carolina all the way up to Maine. Around.
So look how lucky we are that we have these places. Can you imagine if all of these had been turned into farmland? I mean, that's the direction that we're still headed in. But I mean, we have these places, and where are you guys all going to make contact with these creatures? You're going into the national parks, right?
Right. Well, which is interesting because here in Virginia, the George Washington National Forest, which back in the 1920s and the 30s, it once belonged to it was a plantation, actually a tree farm. Well, no, let's take that back. It was a plantation itself when the state took it over and bought it over, and they actually started planting trees, and which, of course, they preserved it into the national forest for the state. And what's interesting here, you know, our national forest connects into West Virginia's Allegheny Mountains, and I mean, we have over 130,000 acres of George Washington National Forest. But it also branches off and connects into all the other wilderness that runs into West Virginia, Ohio. Excuse me. So all like I said, all that way through Southern Virginia and whatnot. But
and runs all the way up toward Maine.
Yep. And then when you run into West Virginia, you have another set of national forests. I can't really think of the name right offhand. It's a long name. It's some kind of old Indian name, perhaps.
I'd love to see a campaign where we start reclaiming and putting new forests back, because I don't know if that's going on. I mean, I know there are people like the Nestle Corporation came to Maine and bought half a township, and Quimby from Burt's Bees bought a township. But they're buying these things. What do they plan on doing with them? Nestle mostly is interested in siphoning off all the water. Like these corporations aren't interested in protecting these forests, and they're sure to hell not interested in like trying to to look long term to reproduce an old growth forest that's for the people.
Carl,
He's muted right now.
you
Why
have
you
any
keep
more?
calling him Carl? His name's Keith.
Carl, Keith, Steve.
Oh,
it
Keith,
all
whatever. Um, in your up there in your neck of the woods, how does the Forestry Service work up there as far as uh, wood control?
Logging. Well, for every
Well,
tree that cut down, you got to plant 3 trees.
yeah, but isn't that bullshit when you cut down a tree that's 800 years old?
At 800 years old, you plant 3 trees.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's
you know.
bullshit. That's a crime. That should
They're
be a
still doing
prison
it.
crime, is what that should be, and it's ridiculous that we would even buy into that concept. But no, you're right. That's what they
Yeah,
do.
but they do replant them. But good luck for 80 years. You don't, I'll never see
People
them.
I don't like are Plum Creek. You guys heard of them? Plum Creek?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kathy laughs because you'll go by these areas and it'll be, I don't know, 200-300 acres, whatever the maximum sizes they're allowed, and there'll be nothing there. It'll just be just stumps, and there'll be a big sign. It'll say conservation area, put into tree growth. Like, you bastards, it was already in tree growth. They went in there, turned it into a golf course. Oh, by the way, now we're conserving it. Yeah, they conserve it after they get all the value they can suck off it for their shareholders. Like, that's the thing. They're not. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store to buy food. Food's not produced to keep us healthy. Food is produced to make a profit. The forests are not being maintained to be healthy. The forests are being maintained to produce a profit for shareholders. The only real forest you're going to get in Maine is going to be that managed by the state parks, like Baxter State Park. They don't allow any logging, no cutting. There's certain tracts of Department of Conservation land which currently are protected from logging, but our not-so governor wants to go in there and cut the trees down and sell them.
Yep.
Really sad.
Yeah, I've seen some beautiful trees, and I mean, I've seen big trees, and real big, tall, beautiful trees down here. I tell you what, I know when I started my research, I was in Pennsylvania, and man, I seen trees. I know they got them much bigger out west, but here on the East Coast, I've seen trees that would probably take over 30 people to reach their arms around.
You're seeing them because you're going in an area where these things are, right? That's where you're seeing these trees. Like, these things are connected to these trees. I don't know what the connection is necessarily, but they're connected. Like I even wonder, maybe they are trees. I don't know, but you're not going to find them without the trees. The trees
right.
have this relationship, these huge trees you're talking about, and you're right, you don't get the same size, but I know what you're talking about, these massive, like, hardwoods or oaks or maples or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have ancient relationships with mycelium and mushrooms and fungus, and there's all kinds of stuff happening there that when you walk up to that tree that you're not privy to, that science barely understands. There's a lot going on with those trees. It's amazing.
Yeah, because if people would understand, but being an arborist, I had to, before I could become a certified arborist, I had to learn about nature and the trees, the life that trees support, like your insects, your fungus, your moss.
Yeah, everything.
See, everything, yeah. People don't realize that, and that ties in with squash, with Sasquatch, with birds, bees, flies, everything. And we get rid of those, everything that we're used to seeing in our national forest is no more.
We used to worship the trees. Before, I don't know if you guys are Christians. I know a lot of people are Christians now, but pre-Christian, the Celts, the Druids, the Picts, the Northern European tribe, Jamaic, whoever the hell you want to talk about, probably all the indigenous tribes, they worship the trees. It was really hard. There's a lot of documentation talking about how difficult it was to stop the Celts from worshiping the trees. Like, they would kill people. Don't worship the tree, or we're going to kill you. They'd worship the tree, they'd kill them. They'd still keep worshiping the tree. That's how deeply that belief was. And look how look how we changed.
Yeah, trees. Like with a lot of Native Americans, trees to them were part of what brought life. Yeah.
Look at the one they had out west, that golden spruce that guy with the chainsaw chopped down, that mutant tree. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That was I don't know, balsa fir or something. Thing was like 300 feet tall.
Yeah.
Didn't have any chlorophyll. Science didn't know how it was processing stuff. It was all golden. It wasn't green. It was sacred to like the Haida Indian, I think, or something.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
But see, you're right. These cultures, anybody that was living in the forest, they understood on many levels what was going on there. And I think anybody going into the forest encountering what we call Sasquatch is, you're going to come to the same conclusion that trees are pretty important.
Oh yeah.
But basically, bottom line is everything ties in like this. When you go in and like when I go in over the squatching, I observe everything. Everything. And, a lot of people don't realize, when I put it this way, a lot of stuff that I try to explain sounds off the wall. But I can understand it, but they can't understand. I say, look, go out, put yourself in my shoes, go out, do this, do that. Observe.
It really sounds off the wall. You keep harping in on these portals, man. That's crazy talk.
What?
The portals.
I still don't know what to think of that, man. I mean,
I'm just poking you with a stick. You'll have to poke me back.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Be like Biscardi. It was real. I poked it with a stick.
Yeah, just the other day on a podcast, I opened up and spoke my 2 cents on the portal thing. Because I don't. Nah, I ain't gonna start it.
You know what? I wouldn't believe it either. I don't blame. I don't blame people for believing things that are ridiculous. You should. You should not believe things that seem ridiculous. But if you experience some things, and you will, if you go out looking for these things, you will experience things that will stretch your understanding of reality and will force you to come to the conclusion that some of the stuff that you've been taught is a certain way isn't that way anymore. Now you still need to be skeptical, but in this case, like I said, we have 3 credible people that are in our community, that have friends that we know. Different people know them at different levels, but I know a couple of these guys pretty well enough that I think they're telling the truth. Therefore, we're faced with something that's occurring that seems to violate our understanding of the laws of physics.
The only way I would believe in something like that is if I seen like the orb that's in one of my photos. I never noticed it. Now, what is it? What is an orb?
I've seen them actually just glowing, self-illuminating, like that. I could see them.
Well, this one was 10 o'clock in the morning in front of a pine tree that big around. It was glowing blue. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, but you said you didn't see it till you took the picture, right?
I didn't even know it was on there. Someone saw it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I've seen them without taking a picture of them. Like I've seen an orb that you could see through that appears to be intelligently controlled that is self-illuminating.
Cool.
Not ball lightning, in my opinion. I don't think it's ball lightning. And it's not glow-in-the-dark fungus, because I know what that is.
Yeah, I've seen trees along the riverbank that I've seen at nighttime that glowed.
Bioluminescent fungus. You've also got glowworms, fireflies. You've got a few organisms that can produce what is known as cold light, bioluminescence. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that's up here in the air, can move around, you can see through it, but it's illuminated.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, well.
But when someone told me about it and I looked at it, I couldn't explain it. I can say it was an orb. It was blue. I could see the tree behind it, but I can't explain it. Maybe someone was telling me something up in there. I don't know. But I took the picture, and I never even when I downloaded it, I never noticed it until someone told me, "Hey, what's that blue thing glowing in your picture?" I'm like, "Huh?" And I went back and looked at it, and it was like, "It's an orb, but I don't know where it come from."
Well, like
Some
a month
people,
ago, I took a picture of a flying saucer or whatever the hell it was, but you can't tell anything. It's just a light in the sky. I mean, it hovered there for an hour. It wasn't an airplane, it wasn't a satellite, but
well,
Yeah.
when it goes from standing still to 1,000 miles an hour in about a split second, I believe
well,
it's
I've
a
seen them do that
UFO.
too. Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah,
that.
and when it comes to stuff in the sky, a lot of people fail to realize, or you can't definitely rule out the government because there's so much stuff the government has secret, or kept secret, and I mean, you don't know what they're testing and doing up there. I mean,
That's
they could be
true.
doing. I mean, they have so much stuff that we don't know about. Some we may never know about, but
Why don't
they
we
may
get
be
on
testing out new technology.
the
But
Why don't we get on the bus and cruise over to Area 51? See what they got over
Security.
Isn't that a theme park now? Don't they have a roller coaster there?
there. Really?
I don't know.
Pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they put a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Now,
we could take a bus in, or we could take a 747 in to Area 51.
a few years ago, we were up. This was before I was even buying into it, most of the stuff. We saw another. I think I made a video about that. Lady K and I saw a UFO that came in that looked like a meteorite, but turned into this bright light. And eventually, it diverted, came over directly over us, and it did the stationary. All of a sudden, just going at an unbelievable rate of speed, and went out of sight, right? But the curious part of the night was that throughout the rest of the night, there were pebbles raining down around the pit that we were in. Now you're gonna say, rocks roll down pits all the time. The thing is, this area, I was tasked to going up there doing brood count surveys, so I had been there like 14 times. I had camped there for years. No rocks ever came down around that pit, except the night we saw the flying saucer. Now, we'd hear the rocks coming down. We're in the tent. The rain flies off. We're looking through, so that we got just the fabric, right? You can see out at the stars. But I'd unzip the tent, get out. When I'd unzip the tent, the rocks would stop. Get back in the tent, the rocks would start again.
That's odd.
Like something was moving the rocks. I even got up and went around the perimeter of the pit with the flashlight, checked for tracks. Every time I get out, it wouldn't be there. Like, it doesn't make sense that an animal would do that. An animal would have left, right?
Yeah.
It was somehow, it had something to do, I think, with the UFO we saw. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you one. I can tell you one thing. Back a few years ago, I'm over in a place called Deerfield, and I'm out there in the woods at 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting, for daylight to turn. There's this big ball of light about like a mile away from me, in front of the trees. As daylight comes, it does this right here, and it just poof.
But you don't believe in portals.
I don't know what it was. All I know is it went from huge, and it just got smaller. As the morning started, daylight started to come, it got smaller and smaller and smaller, and it just went poof.
There's a couple of things. What's that?
There's one oh I was just gonna say, almost sounds like, this is just my opinion, but almost sounds like as the sun was coming up, I'm thinking sun rays. Sun rays will cause circled light, the way it filters through and shines through. But
not at 3 o'clock. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, well, I just the way I was kind of picking up on that, where you were saying the sun was rising or something like that. That's why I was thinking about different sun rays, the way the sun rays will shine and produce different images.
What you're describing isn't really. I've heard of that before, of people seeing a craft. Actually, they would see creatures go into the craft, and then the craft got physically smaller and just winked out, which is pretty bizarre to us because we're used to things staying a single size, but we're also used to believing that we're all experiencing the same timeline. And
I took binoculars and my rifle scope and looked at it through that, and it was just a ball of light.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about light. See, light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second
Okay.
in a vacuum. Always.
Okay.
Everywhere.
All right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. It doesn't matter what direction you're moving in. What Einstein deduced from that was that time is what's flexible. Space, the size of things actually change. If you were to reach near the speed of light, you would actually contract in size. You'd become physically smaller than you are.
Well, I know what the sound barrier sounds like when a jet breaks the sound barrier. I know what that sounds like. I got knocked off my bike one day.
We can't break the light barrier, but that's why. But the point is that when you see something small, like if you look into people that are experiencers or abductees or whatever that want to talk about the UFOs, and a lot of people in the Bigfoot community aren't really up on the UFO phenomenon, but frequently you will see time dilation and size. The things will change in size, which is something that we know is physics allows for that to take place, but not in the form that people are reporting it. In other words, it's something that's beyond our ability of science to comprehend.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oddly enough, if you look at the ancient stories of fairies and stuff like Rip Van Winkle, you also get a lot of stories that talk about this time dilation.
Yeah, and you got Herb Walker, who is always got a friend of his who has photographs of fairies, little miniature humans with wings.
Get out of here. Really? Fairies?
Good old Herb Walker.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a line in the sand at the fairies. The portals are fine. The aliens.
Maybe
Maybe there are fairies for all I know.
Well, he's speaking of a gentleman who took a still shot from one of my field videos, and this man had circled different images supposedly he was seeing. One was a dog. There was a group of people in the creek, and there was an Elvis doll too. He found.
Oh, found Elvis, huh? Was Waldo in there as well?
He was popping in and out of trees.
I have had talk about little people, seeing little people in the forest, which would be like leprechauns. I mean, there's that.
Well, basically the same thing. He's got them, but there's a lady over in England that has actual photographs that she has done this.
Well, any of the photographs, there's a famous. Are you talking about the one that was made famous by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Houdini? The little girls and the two girls that took pictures of the fairies, because
no,
those are cut out, proven to be dolls.
No, what I'm talking about is she went outside one day and she's just taking a picture of the trees, the flowers, everything in her backyard, and she notices something. It looked kind of silhouette like, and she zooms in, takes a picture of it, goes back inside, develops it, blows it up, clears it up. And it's a little person about that big with wings. And
it almost sounds like what you would. Yeah, it almost sounds like what Michael was just talking about. I know what he's talking about because they actually made a movie based off of something like that.
No, this right here was about like a month ago.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, well, I probably can give it to you, I think. But anyway, we got 2 minutes left, and Mike.
Well, it's been fun talking with you guys.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. You got any tips for newbies or beginners?
Go outside. Go into the forest. That's the only tip I can give them. Go alone if possible. Go spend the night. Go spend 2 or 3 days. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
You learn something.
A lot of people don't come in here, but yeah.
People just don't realize you learn everything.
What's the worst that could happen? You walk into a portal and get dick slapped.
Beer could eat you, but you'd be famous. Right?
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, folks. That's it for tonight, and don't forget Sunday night. This Sunday, I want you to. I'll send you a link too, Mike, for you and your wife. I'm having Lori Ann DeValley on here Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And like I said, my main goal is to get all the researchers from East Coast to West Coast, learn what I can and their tips, and pass it on to help other researchers and everything. Okay. Daniel, you have some last words before we cut the thread?
Well, say it was, like I said, it was great meeting you, Mike. Talking with you, it's you got a lot of awesome stuff to say. Like I said, I've watched your videos in the past. I respect what you have to say. And perhaps we'll have you again here soon. Because a lot of times we have a lot of just open, random discussion podcasts. We get into topics and we get people to share or ask questions through the live chat. And
I change my mind every week.
Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes that's. Yeah, I've been known to do it too. But
okay.
Next week, Bigfoot is going to be an astronaut. Working for NASA on the space shuttle.
Yeah.
There you go. So, like Fred mentioned earlier, starting tomorrow. I mean, as soon as I get off of work, I'm meeting up with them. We're all going out camp for the weekend, and
good luck, man.
Fred will probably leave a little early. Yeah, and actually, and one thing I shared with Fred earlier, I've been investigating reports, and I got a new one early today, and it's an area I've actually gone into once because of the report I got once before. It happened almost a year ago. This recent report, same activity, different people, just a week ago, had their camper violently shook 3 different times in one night, and I'm actually going to go out there. Yeah, and I'm actually going to be going out there Sunday, and perhaps Fred will maybe come out there with us too, because I'm going to leave Sunday morning from our camp and take the group, if they want to come with me, meeting up with the gentleman who gave me the report, and we're going to go check it out because that area is seriously active, and I found some awesome structures out there. I found stuff where, I don't know, stuff that you wouldn't normally find that's not normal. So, and I actually have, if you look through some of my investigation videos, probably from just a few weeks ago on my YouTube channel. I mean, yeah, you'll be surprised. But I plan on Monday night actually giving a Bigfoot evidence update and probably discuss on findings and stuff like that. And
cool.
Anyone else is welcome to join in and maybe share their recent findings. So, yeah, like I said, a lot of times we just do this for fun, share research and stuff we learn and find. So, but yeah,
better than trying to shoot one.
So,
yeah.
Way better than trying to shoot.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to go off here in about 2 seconds here. But anyway, like I say, Mike Merchant, you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want. If you hear me and Daniel shout, jump in, raise a little hell with us. That's the fun of it.
That was the old me. No more hell raising.
That's it. Okay, and y'all want to check out the videos? Go to Freddy 59100 for me, and for Daniel Benoit, it's what is it?
ECBRO 98. That's my YouTube channel. So, and if you haven't subscribed, stay up to date. Or you can visit my website, www.ecbro.wordpress.com. You'll see a lot of my latest blog posts and reports of investigation, whatnot, etc., etc. So.
Okay, so y'all haven't. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I was just gonna throw one more thing. You can come and like our Facebook page too. So.
Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about Sunday night, 8 o'clock. We have Lori and Duvali, and y'all have a nice one and come back again.